He just wanted peace. That was all. After months of working non-stop on a distant mining colony, Ethan had returned to his small wooden cabin in the forest on Earth, ready to celebrate a quiet Easter weekend. No loud cities, no missions, no people. Just him, hot coffee, and silence. But silence was the first thing that broke. The noise came early in the morning, even before the sun had fully risen. A soft thud outside the cabin door, then another. At first, Ethan ignored it, thinking it was just a wild animal. But the third sound was louder something, or someone hitting the wooden deck. He grabbed his robe, opened the door, and stopped breathing. For a second, a girl. Not just any girl, she had long white fur on her arms, tall white bunny ears, and she was unconscious on his porch. Her skin was glowing slightly in the dim morning light, her body trembling from the cold. She looked like a mix of human and something else, something. Alien. Ethan didn't think. He rushed to her, checked her breathing. It was shallow and carried her inside. His heart beat faster as he laid her on the bed and covered her with blankets. Her lips moved a little, but no words came out. She was freezing. She woke up 2 hours later, her large eyes blinked open slowly. She looked confused, like someone pulled out of a deep dream. Ethan offered her water, but she just stared at him. Her voice was soft and strange when she finally spoke. "Are you the male of this territory?" Ethan blinked. "I live here, yes. Who are you? What happened to you?" She sat up slowly, holding the blanket tightly against her furred shoulders. "I'm Leary. I didn't mean to crash here. I was being hunted. I had no choice but to land near a warm structure. I did not expect a human." "Hunted?" Ethan looked out the window, suddenly alert. "By who?" Her ears twitched. "Not who what? The Broken Moon War started again. I escaped my planet to avoid the draft. They want our kind to serve as trackers in human territory." Ethan had heard whispers about a rebellion in nearby sectors, but he didn't care. Not until now. Not until a warm, scared alien woman showed up, asking for shelter. "I just wanted a quiet Easter," he muttered, running a hand through his hair. "I'll leave," she said, trying to get up, but her legs wobbled, and she nearly fell. "No," Ethan said firmly, catching her. "You're staying. At least until you're strong enough. Then we'll figure something out." She looked up at him, surprised. "You're not afraid of me?" He chuckled. "Lady, I've seen a 3-headed miner punch a spaceship engine. You just look tired." But deep inside, he was afraid. Not of her, but of what her presence meant. If she was being hunted, then they might come here. And Ethan had buried his weapons years ago. Later that night, Leary sat on the edge of the bed, dressed in one of Ethan's soft robes. She looked around the cabin, wooden shelves, old books, a warm fire. It was all so peaceful. Her ears dropped slightly. "This is nice. We don't have places like this where I come from," she whispered. Ethan handed her a warm drink. "It's nothing fancy, but it's home." She took the cup and held it with both hands. "They will come for me. If they find me, they'll punish you too." "I've faced worse," Ethan said, though he didn't fully believe it. "We'll deal with it when it happens." She smiled for the first time outside. The wind blew softly through the trees. But miles above the quiet cabin, something was falling. A black shape, cutting through the stars, heading straight for Earth. And the war Ethan wanted to avoid was about to find his doorstep. The next morning started too quiet. Not peaceful, just empty. Ethan stood on the porch with a mug of hot coffee in his hand, watching the treetops. Birds chirped as usual, but something in the air felt wrong. He could feel it in his bones. The kind of silence that comes before a storm inside. Leary sat on the couch, wrapped in a blanket, her long white ears low. She was watching the window, but her eyes weren't focused on anything. Ethan could tell she hadn't slept properly. "You should eat," he said gently. "I did," she lied, pushing the same bowl of stew around for hours he didn't press. She was still scared, still in shock, still running from something no one should have to face. Ethan knew that feeling. He had once escaped a battlefield by crawling through mud and bodies just to see another sunrise. That was 10 years ago. He had buried that part of his life, but now it was scratching its way back. Suddenly, Leary's ears shot up. Her body stiffened. Ethan noticed the change instantly. "What is it?" he asked. "They're here," she whispered. Ethan looked up. Then he heard it. A strange humming sound in the air. Low and slow, like a giant insect. He put down his cup and reached under the kitchen floor, where he had hidden something he swore he'd never touch again, a long black case. He opened it. Inside was a sleek plasma rifle, still polished, still deadly. Leary's eyes widened. "You're military?" Ethan said. "And I hoped I'd never be again." A small drone appeared outside the window. Smooth, black, oval-shaped. It hovered silently and scanned the cabin. "They're scouting," Leary said. "They don't want to fight. They want me back alive." Ethan didn't hesitate. He aimed the rifle and fired. The drone exploded in a flash of blue light. Leary jumped. "You just exposed us." "I just gave them a message," Ethan growled. "If they want you, they'll have to come through me." Leary stared at him like she was seeing him for the first time. "They'll send others, stronger ones." Ethan nodded. "Then we prepare." The rest of the day, they worked together. He set up old traps around the cabin. Motion sensors, shock fields, even sharpened wooden spikes from when he used to hunt. Leary helped, even though she trembled. She told Ethan about her planet, about how her kind, called the Luren, were skilled trackers. Their DNA made them valuable to warlords. They could follow heat trails, smell fear, and feel energy shifts in the ground. But Leary had refused to be used as a weapon. Ethan understood more than she knew. By nightfall, the cabin looked calm from the outside. But it was a trap for anyone foolish enough to approach. Leary sat near the fire, rubbing her arms. Ethan handed her another blanket. "I'm sorry," she said. "For what?" "For ruining your quiet Easter." Ethan chuckled. "Leary, I think this is the most exciting Easter I've ever had." She smiled weakly, but her eyes were still worried. "You shouldn't have to do this for me." "I'm not doing it for you," he said softly. "I'm doing it because it's right." She looked into his eyes, searching for something. Trust, maybe. Or hope. Then she nodded slowly. Outside, two figures landed in the forest silently. Tall, dark-armored, with glowing red eyes. They scanned the air and began walking toward the cabin. Slow and certain the hunt had begun. Ethan stood by the window, eyes sharp, rifle ready. Leary crouched low beside the fireplace, every muscle in her body tense. Her ears twitched, turning slightly with every noise. She could feel them coming closer. "They're near," she whispered. "Two of them, maybe more. They're using cloaking gear. I can smell the ozone it leaves behind." Ethan nodded, slowly backing away from the window. He had placed traps outside, but it wouldn't stop trained hunters for long. He needed to be ready. He looked down at Leary. She was scared, but she wasn't useless. He saw it in the way she moved carefully, like a soldier hiding her instincts. "You ever fight before?" he asked. She nodded once. "Not by choice, but I was trained. I know how to defend myself." Ethan handed her a small energy knife. "If they get close, use this. Aim for the joints in the armor." Leary took it with a shaking hand but gripped it tightly. "Thank you." Outside, the forest seemed to hold its breath. Then crack, a trap snapped. Metal teeth clamped down on nothing, just a decoy. But it was enough. The first hunter moved fast, charging through the trees, activating his plasma shield. He didn't see the second trap. A blast of light exploded. Beneath his feet, the ground shook, dirt flew everywhere. Ethan peeked outside. One down, the second one was smarter. He moved like a shadow, ducking behind trees, avoiding the traps. He reached the cabin wall silently. Leary turned sharply. "He's inside." Ethan raised his rifle, stepping into the hallway. But the hunter moved faster than expected. He dropped from the ceiling like a ghost. The rifle was knocked from Ethan's hand. He crashed into the wall. Dazzled, Leary screamed. The hunter turned toward her, arm blade extended, glowing with blue heat. He moved in, but she didn't run. She waited. And when he was close enough, she flipped the knife in her hand and slashed upward, straight into the gap under his arm. The blade pierced his armor with a crackling burst. The hunter staggered. Ethan grabbed the rifle, rolled to the side, and fired. The second hunter fell backward. Lifeless silence returned. Leary was breathing hard, staring at the body. Her hands trembled again. "You okay?" Ethan asked. Getting up slowly, she nodded, tears in her eyes. "I didn't want to kill again." "You didn't have a choice," he said. "You did what?" "You had to." She sat down on the couch and covered her face. Ethan sat beside her. "You're not alone anymore, Leary. You don't have to run." She looked at him. "They won't stop. These were just scouts. Others will follow." "I know," he said, "and we'll be ready." She leaned against him, her ears brushing his cheek. It was a quiet, strange comfort, but he didn't pull away. The fear hadn't passed, but for a moment, it felt like they were more than just survivors. Later that night, Leary helped him bury the bodies deep in the woods. The air was cold, the moon full. She didn't speak much, and Ethan didn't ask questions when they returned. She looked at the Easter eggs he had placed near the fireplace days ago. Plastic, colorful, untouched. "I don't know your customs," she said softly. "But if this day is meant for peace, I hope we can earn it." Ethan smiled. "So do I." In the distance, something blinked in the sky. A red light. A signal. Another ship was coming. Bigger this time. And it wasn't just looking for Leary, it was coming to start a war. Asterisk. The morning came with thunder, but not from the sky. A deep vibration shook the earth beneath Ethan's cabin. Windows rattled. Birds flew in every direction. Leary stood frozen in the middle of the room, staring upward. Her long white ears were pointing straight up, alert. "They've sent a dropship," she whispered. "Not a scout. This is a strike unit." Ethan checked his equipment. "How many soldiers?" "At least 12, she said. "Maybe more. Fully armored." "They'll surround us." He didn't answer. He opened the floor again and pulled out 2 more weapons, an old pulse shotgun and a collapsible energy shield. Leary helped him prepare. Grenades made from old mining tools and plasma canisters. Every corner of the cabin became part of the defense. "Why would they send so many just for you?" Ethan finally asked. Leary looked down. "It's not just about me anymore. They think I gave something to you." Ethan frowned. "Like what?" "A memory, a code. My people have the ability to store data inside our cells. They think I passed it to a human, but you didn't," he said. She hesitated. "Not on purpose." He blinked. "Wait, what did you do?" Leary stepped closer. "When I was weak, when you touched me to help me, the bond may have triggered. It's rare, but it happens. Your body might now carry a part of mine, a signal they can trace." Ethan stared at her. "So now they want me too." She nodded slowly. "We are linked. If they kill you, the memory dies. If they capture you, they can extract it. Either way, they won't stop." Ethan ran a hand down his face. "So much for a peaceful Easter." Outside, the humming began. The dropship hovered low above the trees, its engines burning the forest below. Then came the soldiers, tall, armored, faceless. They dropped silently around the cabin like shadows inside. Leary gripped her knife and crouched by the door. Ethan activated the shield and braced his shotgun. The first blast hit the wall. Wood exploded. Light burst into the room. Ethan pushed. Leary down and returned fire, blasting one soldier off his feet. The second entered through the window. Ethan hit him with a pulse grenade. Smoke filled the cabin. Sparks flew. Leary darted across the floor, slashing a third soldier's leg and sending him crashing to the ground. She moved fast, too fast for the armor to lock on. Ethan covered her with the shotgun, knocking down any that got close. But there were too many. They fell back to the hallway. Ethan's arm was bleeding. Leary had a cut above her eye. Her fur was stained, but she didn't stop. She pulled Ethan down just in time as a beam sliced through the wall where his head had been. "We can't hold this place," he shouted then. "We run," she said. He looked at the back wall, the secret tunnel he once built for escape. He had sealed it years ago. He kicked it open. Dust and rot flew everywhere. "Go," he shouted. They crawled through the tight space. Behind them, the cabin burned. Explosions rocked the walls. The last thing Ethan saw before closing the hatch was his home, the peaceful cabin. The books, the fireplace all turning to ash. They emerged deep in the woods, gasping for air. The dropship was still hovering in the sky, but it didn't spot them yet. Ethan looked at Leary. Her face was tired, but her eyes were sharp. "What now?" he asked. "We run," she said. "But we don't hide. We take the fight to them." Ethan smirked, despite the pain. "Now that sounds more like Easter." From above, the ship turned slowly, scanning the forest. But Leary and Ethan had already vanished into the shadows, ready for whatever came next. The forest was darker now. Smoke from the burning cabin still floated in the sky behind them, but Ethan and Leary kept moving. They moved like ghosts, silent, fast and careful. Ethan's arm throbbed where he had been cut. He tied it with an old cloth, but blood still soaked through. Leary stopped him and placed her hand gently over the wound. Her fingers glowed faintly. Ethan felt a strange warmth, like energy flowing into him. "What are you doing?" he asked. "Luran." "Healing," she said. "It won't fix everything, but it'll slow the damage." "You've been hiding a lot," he said, raising an eyebrow. She gave a small smile. "You didn't ask." They reached a narrow cliffside overlooking the valley. From here, they could see the enemy's dropship parked among the trees. Smaller. Drones buzzed around it, scanning the ground. "They'll find us again," Ethan said. "Soon. Not if we strike first," Leary replied. Ethan turned toward her. "You're serious? We can't keep running," she said. "They'll keep sending units until one of us dies. But if we take out the ship, the signal ends. No more reinforcements." Ethan stared down at the valley, thinking. The ship was heavily guarded. At least 8 soldiers were moving in a tight patrol, but if they could sneak inside. "There's a fuel core under every dropship," he said. "If we overload it from inside, it'll explode big enough to wipe out everything around it." Leary nodded. "Then let's do it." They waited until nightfall. Then they moved using an old path through the rocks. They crept down toward the ship. Leary used her senses to guide them, avoiding motion detectors, dodging drones. Ethan followed close behind, rifle ready. They reached the back of the ship. A narrow service hatch was unguarded. "Stay close," Ethan whispered inside. The ship was quiet. Blue lights glowed along the floor. They moved fast, avoiding cameras and scanning nodes. Leary led the way, her movements smooth and precise. Ethan was impressed. She wasn't just fast, she was smart. They reached the fuel chamber. The hum of energy pulsed around them. Ethan opened a panel and began pulling wires. "We've got 5 minutes once this starts," he said. "After that, it goes boom." Suddenly, a voice echoed through the ship. A calm, robotic voice. Unauthorized access detected. Leary's ears twitched. "They know. Time to move." Ethan shouted. They ran through the narrow halls as alarms rang out. Soldiers stormed the ship from both sides. One fired a pulse shot. Ethan returned fire and dropped him. Another charged at Leary. But she jumped up and kicked him straight into a wall. They burst out of the hatch, sprinting into the forest. Behind them, lights flickered wildly. Then an explosion ripped through the night. The fireball lit up the trees. The ground shook. Pieces of the dropship rained down from the sky. The drones fell from the air like broken toys. Ethan and Leary fell behind a log, catching their breath. "It worked," Leary said. Panting, Ethan nodded, coughing from the smoke. "We bought time, maybe days, maybe weeks." She looked at him. "You saved me. You saved me first," he said with a small grin. "I just returned the favor." For a moment, they lay in silence, listening to the fire crackle in the distance. The war hadn't ended, but this battle was theirs. Then Leary sat up, serious. "There's one more thing. I didn't tell you everything about the memory code inside you." Ethan looked at her. "What now?" She looked into his eyes. "That memory. It's not just information. It's a key, a royal mark. You carry something that can change the future of my people." Ethan blinked. "You mean like a password?" She shook her head. "No, like a throne." And just like that, Ethan realized this Easter wasn't just about survival anymore. It was about destiny. Ethan stared at Leary, the crackling firelight flickering across her tired but steady face. "A throne?" he repeated. "Leary, I was a miner, a soldier once. Now I chop wood and try to stay out of trouble. I don't want power. I don't want royalty." Leary looked down. "Neither did I, but I was born into it." She sat beside him, her white ears hanging low. "My mother was the high matron of the Luran people, before the war. She died protecting the secret memory one that only a Luran royal could carry. When I ran, I didn't just flee from battle. I fled with the key, and now, I accidentally passed it to you." Ethan exhaled slowly. "So they're not hunting you, they're hunting your bloodline." Leary nodded. "And now they know. It lives in you too." He rubbed his temples. "Great. I wanted a quiet Easter. I got royal blood, a target on my back, and a bunny woman sleeping in my bed." She smiled softly. "I can sleep on the floor again." "No, stay where you are." He muttered, then added, "You're warm." For a while, they just sat in the glow of the destroyed ship behind them. But Ethan's mind was racing. He thought of Earth, of the colonies, of how easily governments would sell out a single man with alien code in his blood. He couldn't go home now, not truly. What do we do now? He finally asked. "We go to the Luran Enclave," Leary said. "It's far, hidden, but if we reach it, I can use the signal in your blood to unlock the memory. My people can rise again. With peace. Not war," Ethan sighed. "And if we fail, they'll find us. Kill us. And my people will stay broken forever." Ethan looked up at the stars. For years, he had run from responsibility, from violence, from meaning. But now, sitting next to a woman who risked everything for peace, he felt something he hadn't in a long-time purpose. He stood, brushing dust from his coat. "Then let's go. You lead, I'll carry the bags." Leary smiled, rising to her feet. "I think you're already carrying more than that." They started walking, heading toward the mountains. In the distance, Leary used her senses to guide them through the night, and Ethan kept his rifle close, scanning the horizon. By sunrise, they had made it to an old cave. Inside was a glowing stone door with markings Ethan couldn't read. Leary stepped forward and turned to him. "This is it. You have to place your hand here." He hesitated, then slowly pressed his palm against the stone. The wall lit up in golden light. Symbols moved like water. The door opened, revealing a chamber filled with glowing crystal structures. Leary stepped in and gasped. The memory core. It's still alive. As she approached it, the crystals responded to her presence. Then suddenly, light shot out toward Ethan, hitting his chest. He gasped as a rush of images, voices, memories flooded through him. He dropped to his knees, eyes wide, but it didn't hurt. It felt like waking up, like finally knowing what had always been hidden. Leary knelt beside him. It accepted you. You are now part of the royal bloodline. I'm not a king, he said, trembling. You don't have to be, she replied. But you're the one who can rebuild what was lost. And I'll be with you. Every step. Ethan looked at her and smiled weakly. I just wanted a quiet Easter. And you got me instead, she teased. He laughed. Not a bad trade. Outside the cave, the forest was quiet again. But something new had begun. Not war, not running, but a future together. Asterisk.